pour me porter prophétesse là pour yo qui au ta remettre de l'issue ça qui passé dans moment qui ça li dit. Eh bien moi porter prophétesse là pour nous qui porter prédiction sur ça qui passé dans moment ça et d'après prophétesse là c'était dans dernier jour n'a vivre là et nous tout capable en pile bête là mais a mourir en pile avion bateau a chavirer ak l'autre événement qui passé dans pays. Eh bien c'était ça yo prophétesse après elle parler dans vidéo mais avant moi ba nous des prophétesse là qui te partager des nouvelles ça yo avec nous qui vraiment important. Première nouvelle là c'est dame ça qui c'est un avocat immigration qui arrive poster une vidéo pour l'alerter communauté lia pour le faire prudent les a voyager pour yo capable déporter yo parce que d'après ça dame n'a déclaré en dans vidéo agent immigration yo utiliser une tactique konya depuis dans airport là pour yo demander qui statut pour pas ka prouver ou bien ou illégal y a près les haïs pour yo ka déporter dame n'a fait connaître que oui demander statut moun qui toujours exister les wa voyager mais c'est pas leur font voyage domestique ça veut dire c'est pas leur voyager en dans États-Unis par exemple ou ka prend vol Orlando pour Fort Lauderdale et puis yo demander ou statut si ou illégal yo kembo y a déporté dame n'a te fait connaître que yo moun qui illégal pas fait voyage domestique parce que y a déporté ou bon faire nous de partir ça parce que c'est vraiment important.
Guys, I'm not trying to scare you all, but I am getting reports of TSA officers asking quote unquote random people for their immigration status in domestic flights. It's my duty to let you all know that this is happening and to be aware. If you do not have legal status, you should not be flying right now domestically. TSA is pulling people over, asking them what their immigration status is and what documentation they may or may not have to prove that status. And then if they don't have status, they're asking them to go with them to speak to an ICE officer. We've already gotten a couple calls from people who have been detained and are in detention centers from domestic flights right now based on questioning from TSA officers. This is very concerning, and I'm letting you know, if you don't have legal status, you should not be flying domestically in the United States.
Of course, people who don't have legal status fly domestically. Yes, according to actually Transportation and Security Administration website, you only need a valid foreign passport to fly domestically. There are hundreds of thousands of people who do not have legal immigration status and still get on a plane and fly from one city to another. This has always been the case. Now that TSA is randomly checking people and asking people what their immigration status is, people say, yeah, I'm a U.S. citizen. They show their passport. Other people say, I don't have any legal immigration status. Then they are being escorted to go and speak to an ICE officer. This is what is going on in selected airports right now that I'm hearing across the United States. This is why I got some calls from people who've been detained, people from Dallas, people from Fort Lauderdale, people from New Orleans, people from Chicago. So it's happening. This is why I'm letting people know, if you don't have proper legal immigration status, you should not be flying. If you have DACA, TPS, or on a work permit, then if the TSA agent asks you, you can explain that to them. If you don't have any status, then you can see how far you go without having to answer to them. I don't know, because the people who have called me have responded to them. So I'm not sure if you have any legal obligation or not to answer their questions, or if they're going to go bring an ICE agent over. I don't know. This is all unfolding and happening, and I'm reporting it to you as it's happening. So I don't have the answer to that. If this happens to you and you don't have legal status and you're in the airport and you refuse to answer the TSA agent, then you can call me and let me know how that experience went for you. For all the other people that are shocked by people who don't have legal status that fly domestically, yes, they fly domestically.
En tous les cas, tête chargée, bagay yon pile problème ba fini. Et deuxième nouvelle là, c'est Latina, ti petite ça qui te gen 11 ans, qui te relè Jocelyne Loro, Kalanza. M'ko en pile nan nou capable wè, photo ti les gens ça, ap sikile sous tout réseau yo, ak vidéo maman qui ak bleu danger. Ça qui rive ti petite ça, fait en pile parents lever camper, ap manifester contre déportation, ak contre intimidation dans l'école. Parce que d'après parents yo, si yo pas lever, revendiquer trop petit moun ap mourir ak farouche dans pays ya. Mais qui ça bagay là? Ti petite 11 ans, te commence à jeune farouche depuis Donald Trump te bay l'ordre pour plus gros opération déportation dans l'histoire américaine et ça qui te poussé agent ICE avec l'autre autorité fédérale lancer opération visée sur environ 12 millions immigrants sans papier dans le pays pour yo ka déporter yo et tout moment ça yo ti petit la vinn joindre un paquet farouche en dans l'école li nan mes camarades li que yo pral déporter parents li la prêter dans pays États-Unis sans famille. Intimidation ça te lage gros la Pérez la kaiti les anges parents te vinn remarquer que à chaque fois sur l'école l'a crier et puis pas vle manger yo te décidé parler avec les anges pour yo te ka konn ça ka passer et ti les anges te bay parents vérité et parents te rapidement dans l'école la rapporter ça et malgré parents ti les anges te rapporter ça dans l'école li ya ti les anges pas suspendre jeune farouche dans mes camarades d'école li pour déportation et ça te vinn augmenter plus Pérez la kaiti les anges des ti les anges vinn décider mettre fin dans la ville mais li pas mourir tout de suite parents te couru transporter li l'hôpital pour soins médicaux mais malheureusement dans 5e jour ti les anges te gen l'hôpital la t'a prend soin li aller dans pays sans chapeau maman ti les anges ak famille pas ka kembe donanger tellement que yo a raché yo bagay la fait au mal et la police a continué mener enquête sous dossier ça pour yo ka konn combien élèves qui étaient impliqués dans zak faou ça pour yo konn ça pour yo faire mais nous pas connait qui ça ka fait vraiment et c'est toute raison ça yo qui cause en pile moun lever camper pour yo manifester contre déportation ak intimidation parce que trop innocent ka payer pour coupable en tous les cas te charger bagay yo un pile problème pas fini et j'aimerais te dire nous moi porter vidéo prophète pour nous vidéo pour faire ça moi quand pile tim cap dit mettez pour yo en anglais s'il vous plaît parce que yo pas comprendre français parce que français c'est bagay tête chargé mais dans caption nan pour moun qui pas parler anglais m'a mettre li en français pour nous comprendre tout bagay m'a gérer tous les débats en tous les cas entendez toute belle tim des TV moi yo.
What I thought that I was seeing was cars that were jostling for position to be given a clearance by God so that it can be their time to get on the marriage highway. That is what I thought I was seeing. I was seeing and I was thinking, oh my goodness, Lord, is this how many people are lined up and backed up to be cleared for marriage? Is this how many people are in line waiting to be cleared for marriage? But then as I was looking still, I began to see long lines of windows, you know, on the sides. Like these things began to separate a little bit and move around. And then I realized, oh, this is planes I'm looking at. These are airplanes that are really crowded on one tarmac. These are not cars. These are airplanes because look at the long lines of windows. And then also look at those two big dark windows in the front. You know how the airplane has like sometimes it's like two big windows like sunglasses, and then sometimes it just has a big one single window. And I thought, oh no, these are airplanes that are waiting to be cleared for takeoff. And the airplanes were so cramped. They were not acting like airplanes that, you know, just have a person in them driving them. It was as if the airplanes were driving themselves, and they were so frustrated being so cramped up on that one tarmac. And then the Lord was speaking to me, and then he was saying that the air traffic controllers are going to ground these planes. They're going to make a value decision. They're going to ground the planes themselves due to inclement weather. That's very bad weather. That's a sudden snowstorms that just picks up within the last half hour after the planes have already been cleared for takeoff. And you know, to be cleared for takeoff, that means the people have already been through customs. The people's bags are on the plane. The people are sitting in. Some of them are already busting out the peanuts. And then all of a sudden you get a call. Instead of being told head to runway 6 and wait, you're being told that the entire flight is canceled due to a sudden windstorm that has just picked up on the route, or a sudden snowstorm that's actually heading to that airport to snow the people in. And so he was just saying that the air traffic controllers the Lord is saying fire and calamity right now. He's literally just saying entire homes burn down, entire developments burn down. A development is basically, it's a kind of private neighborhood where, you know, you design it, you know, where the architect will design it, or the developer will design it, and then the architect will do a mock-up. And then you bring it and you see it'll have like 40 houses, and it's going to have a golf course, and it's going to have a swimming pool, and it's going to have a church house if that's that kind of development, or it can be something in Vegas. And he's just saying entire developments and entire subdivisions are going to be burnt to a crisp. Entire neighborhoods will disappear overnight. Yah is saying people are not even going to have to worry about not having a home, because it's going to be an immense loss of life that is coming to the earth. There's going to be a lot of people leaving this earth unexpectedly. Yah is saying a lot of people suddenly removed. He said humanity is going to be wiped out by crises and calamities that are going to start coming like incredibly hard blows, incredibly hard impacts to the social order of what you call humanity, what you call society, what you call us. The Lord says that it's going to start being torn apart like bread by very painful circumstances that will leave people helpless. People will feel helpless to suddenly hear that an entire school caught fire and that very few children were able to get out because it happened to be nap time at the preschool. The teachers were napping, the children were napping, and then something happened and it moved so fast that basically only teachers who were maybe awake in the break room or they had gone off campus to get food will be able to live. God says it's going to be a lot of devastating, piercing pain that people will feel. People are going to feel so crushed. And he said it's going to make you feel helpless, and you're going to see how helpless you really are. You're going to see how small you really are. You're going to see how powerless you really are. You're going to actually see what life is like without my protection, without my covering, and without my grace. So to go back to what I was saying before he's just saying calamity and war. Calamity and war. The crying out behind the flying of bullets and the reckless taking of life in a war that is coming to the whole earth. A great war is coming to the world. A world war is coming, and people are going to be separated from their loved ones because of running without planning, because of running without preparation. The Lord is saying that there's going to be immense displacement of peoples. People are going to be separated from their families. People are going to be separated from their homes. They're not going to be able to respond in a way that will keep the family unit together. God said there's going to be displacement of peoples. I see something like a very big rock that is thrown with force into a basin that is almost the exact size of the rock. So the basin is not that big that if this rock was to fall in there, there would be space around the rock. I just see a huge stone thrown from a great height, like a strong man goes and throws a very big rock. A man as big as Goliath, wearing ancient clothes, just throws a very big rock into a basin that is almost too small to contain it. And when that rock hits, almost all the water comes out of the basin. Almost all the water just goes whoosh and is displaced out of that basin. God is saying that people are going to be moving halfway across the world to resettle themselves, to be safe, to stay away from outbreaking hot spots of war. And God is saying Mexico is going to have a hard time with this because of America. Yah is saying that Mexico is going to have a very hard time with this when war comes to the United States, that Mexico is going to get the brunt of the fleeing Americans. He says it's not Canada. He says the pass up through the mountains is too difficult, and the majority of them are not cut out to be going through those rugged mountains, finding their way to freedom. But Mexico is relatively easy, he says, to flee to. So Mexico is going to have trouble, Yah is saying, with so many people. Yah says that you can beef up your border patrol, Mexico, but you're just not going to be able to handle the influx of Americans that are going to be scrambling across that border, trying to find safety, trying to find protection from a war that is going to break out suddenly. You are going to have a war before you know it. You are going to have a conflict before you know it. You are going to have a clash with your government before you know it, before you can make sense of what is happening, before you can get your wits together. God says before you can actually even look at your investments and see which investment to keep and which investment to divest of. Divest means I'm going to put this back on the market and I'm going to sell it and try and get a little bit more of my money back in my pocket. God says before you can even make the financial decisions that you want to make, the financial decisions that you think are right for your family, while you are yet pondering on that, God says that a war, a conflagration, it's just like you leave all the stove tops on in the house. The anxiousness that I'm feeling is just as if you are looking at someone cooking and then all their stove tops, they just leave all 4 hobs on and then turn off the kitchen light and go to bed.